Come on. Monday night, you know what it is on the Bywire. We're live, myself, Dan Lewis, and obviously tonight we have got, because it's Monday, Klaudia Fior. She's in the house with us. I caught you off guard there. I'm so glad I did that just to make me smile, fam. What's good, people? How are we doing? You know we're bringing you the news. You know you can trust. Claudia's here for the full show for us tonight. I don't think I told her before the show, but she's just rocking that vibe so hard. We had to bring her in, you know. The people are asking for it. The people are asking for it, so we just had to give them what they wanted. You know what I mean? This is the people's show where we bring the people the news they know they can trust. Yo, if you're loving the show, if you're loving the vibe, yeah, make sure you hit us up in the likes. I already see there's a couple there. Keep them coming. Make sure you hit the retweet, the share, all of them buttons there. And if you ain't on YouTube, head on over to the YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. The numbers are going up, people, and that's thanks to you guys. Now, it's been a mad little weekend, isn't it, Claudia? Like, there's been a lot going on, right?
Yeah, and it's just been like a really sad news weekend. I just feel like I don't feel. Do you know what I mean? There's sometimes at least a little bit of. No, it's just been absolute disaster for the whole weekend and today.
Today's been a sad day. I want to take everyone back 10 years right now to a moment that happened where we thought there might be some change in the world, although many others kind of saw through it. So check this out.
Thanks to our military and our allies and the brave fighters of Afghanistan, the Taliban regime is coming to an end. Yet our responsibilities to the people of Afghanistan have not ended. We work for a new era of human rights and human dignity in that country.
Yeah, so George Bush talking about the Taliban coming to an end. You know what it is. We're going to go straight into Byline first of all, where Hardeep Matharu has done an article talking about deserving or undeserving refugees. And it's the age-old story in the UK, really. Who's okay to come in the country? Who's not okay to come in the country? And this article, I think, just brilliantly lays out the difference there is in the type of refugees that the UK will allow and how people will label, how the government will label those people, as in what kind of refugee they are. You know, there's whether they're coming here to serve themselves or to serve the country, whether they're coming here to drain the country or help build the country. And it's the same thing. And I think there's a slight resemblance in this story in talking about the way in which the Windrush generation were treated when they came here. They were celebrated. People, obviously, a lot of people were unsure about it, and that had to be dealt with at the time. And over time, there has been change. But the government tried to talk about it being a great thing, bringing the Windrush generation over. And there were many other different groups from other parts of Asia and parts of Africa, where people came over to help work in the NHS, work in public services, public transport, all those kind of areas to help keep the country going after the war, and help build the country back up to a state where, you know, things were running well. And now we see that the way those people have been turned on. And it's nearly as if we're going to see similar things happening with the types of refugee programs that they're setting up right now. The article covers what's happening over in Japan, where they're looking at a package or a deal for Japanese people to come here, and how they're viewed as hardworking. They keep their head down. They build our economy. Whereas at the moment, right now, over in Kabul, millions of people are fleeing. They're jumping over airport walls, climbing onto the sides of US airplanes just to try and escape. Imagine the fear in your heart, in your minds, that you're willing to grab onto the side of a massive jet plane to see if you can last a 7-hour flight to wherever it is it might be going, just so that you can save your life. Like, the chances are so slim, and life must be so terrible, or the fear of what is to come must be so terrible for you to be willing to take that risk on your life just to get some safety. And I think it's brilliant, the fact that the article even picks up that this message about the way in which the UK deals with refugees or talks about them, especially in regards to the Nigel Farage message, where his posters about the UK being at breaking point. and where this narrative has come from. It's important that we understand where these ideas, where these kind of messages have come from. And I think it's important that we start to work on changing the media's message on this as well. We challenge the likes of the BBC or Sky, whoever it may be, when they're talking about migrants, refugees, that actually there's some humanity in the way that they're talking about these people, not depending on where they come from, how brown their face is or black their face is, but actually as in every single human is a human and they deserve the right to feel safe. So big up Byline Times for covering that one. I don't know what you're saying, Claudia, if you've had a chance to catch that article.
I've not actually had a chance to read it, but picking up on what you've said, I just think it's quite ironic how the UK is always the last to help refugees from countries where it's played a big part in helping to actually displace them. In Afghanistan, obviously, we've had our role to play in destabilizing Afghanistan. So if the least we can do is take in any asylum seekers fleeing from there right now.
Yeah, spot on. I totally agree with you. Now, obviously, every show we try and get a little bit of something to do with the climate. So our friends at Phoenix Media Co-op have sent out their latest newsletter, the early August newsletter, which covers a few different pieces. The big piece in there is obviously the climate crisis. And they're talking about what is going on right now. The fact that the UN chief Antonio Guterres summed up what's going on as a code red for humanity. I think that, perfect words really. It is a code red. Like that's the most important. We need to do something needs to happen. They've covered a bit about the IPCC report and the COP26 conference that's happening. All the big, remember I keep saying all these leaders of the world are going to come together. They're going to fly on jets to talk about how they saved the climate. Anyway, they're saying here that there's going to be 10,000 police officers from around the UK preparing to hit the streets of Glasgow every day during that COP26 summit. And it's down to ordinary people. It's down to you. It's down to me. It's down to all of us to be there in Glasgow, be online, talking about what's going on and putting pressure on those leaders to actually make a difference. Now, I referred to it a few times and I will go back to it again today. Back in, I think it was 10, 15 years ago, there was the Paris Agreement where the world leaders all signed up. I think it was COP21. They all signed up and they said that they were going to make changes on the climate and their carbon footprint in the world. But, so many years later, Donald Trump was able to just pull the USA out of that agreement. And the majority of the countries aren't really reaching that stage where they should be. So I definitely think it is down to the people. Big up the young ones again. Big up the likes of Greta doing her thing. And next week we're going to see the actions from Extinction Rebellion. I'm excited. I'm interested to see what they're going to do, and I really hope they've learned the lessons from their previous actions. But definitely check out the Phoenix Media Co-op, where they're covering a lot of the global resistance and environmental destruction actions that have been going on. They're also looking at other UK action that they've been looking into, and you can learn a lot more about their work. Also, sign up. It's a media co-op. It's banging when people own the media. Yeah, like it's way better than when you've got a few billionaires sitting in mansions on islands where they don't pay no taxes to nothing, but they telling people what to think because it fits their narrative and it helps their share prices. So own the media, people. Check out the Phoenix Media Co-op. Dano, you know what it is. Claudia, are you heading over to Club? I'm thinking football club. Man's a bit excited after the weekend of football, but are you heading over to COP26? What should we go? Should we just go cause some trouble? Take a sound system?
Yeah, let's go. All I need is a microphone so I can be just that little bit louder. That's it.
I've got a big, somewhere in the back of my house, I've got a big megaphone. Yeah, I'm gonna pull that out. We're gonna go. I've got a couple speakers in the shed at the back of the garden as well. We'll get them. You can have the megaphone and the microphone. I'll bring my little MP3 so I can bang some tunes. You on it?
I'm on it. I just ordered an auto-tune mic as well. So I'm going to be there singing. They're not going to be able to know who it is either because I'm going to be auto-tuned. I'm going to be there like T-Pain.
COP's like 4 days long, innit? Like, should we just live stream for 4 days?
Let's do it.
Man's excited, It's mad.
I'm live.
Now, obviously, world leaders, there's we've got our own corrupt world leaders or corrupt English leaders. And one that I just want to highlight was a piece that went out on Sky News last week, right? So I'm going to stick this piece on. It's Rishi Sunak getting interviewed, and I think it just shows the absolute lack of journalism, lack of cojones, you know, from our media at the moment, our journalists, our presenters, in what's going on. Listen to what Rishi had to say when he's talking about universal credit, jobs, and plans for the his team with as the chancellor.
One of the things I'm proudest of over the past 12 to 18 months is that we have looked after the most vulnerable in our society, and all the figures show that those on the lowest incomes have seen the most support from this government at what has been a very difficult time, and we're not done supporting people. My firm belief is the best way to help those families is to make sure that they can have well-paid work, and we've got a suite of things that we're doing. The national living wage is going up. We're also helping them with new skills training to find better jobs, the Kickstart scheme where the government is fully funding high quality jobs for young people at risk of unemployment. Those are the types of things we're doing, and they will all make a major difference.
Extending that temporary uplift in universal credit, though, is clearly going to help the most. Why won't you do that?
No, I don't think that will help the most. That temporary uplift was indeed temporary. It was the right intervention for the particular part of the crisis that we've experienced. But now, as the economy is reopening and businesses are hiring again, the right thing to do is to help people find really well-paid jobs, which is why the Kickstart scheme is important. It's why we're giving companies huge cash incentives to create new apprenticeships for people. And it's why the Prime Minister's Lifetime Skills Guarantee is crucial. 10 million adults who don't have a level 3 qualification will, for the first time, be able to get one from the government. We know that that can have a transformative impact on people's ability to get a new job or get a better paid job. Those are the right ways to help people.
Oh my days. Like, did you hear what man was saying? He literally, like, it's as if the presenter who was asking the questions wasn't even listening. Like, okay, you put in the £20 about universal credit, yeah? Like, I got vexed watching. I had to rewatch it like 4 times just to check I was watching the same piece, right? Man's talking about, so universal credit uplift, he doesn't think that £20 is going to help anyone. It's like, hold on a minute. So it helped them last year, but it's not going to help them this year as people are going to continue to struggle. Let's not forget that MPs still got, what was it, a £10,000 uplift in their wages so that they could buy extra stuff during the pandemic. Like, everyday people didn't get this. They didn't get. These are everyday people, right? Just because they're claiming universal credit, it doesn't mean that some of them aren't in work, right? People on universal credit are in work, right? Check out the TUC website. You will find that. And he's taken away this £10, right? But £20, sorry. But he spoke about really, what was it, huge cash incentives to create apprenticeships. Now, let's start with who these huge cash incentives are going to. They are going to big companies, basically, you know, like your Sports Directs, your Amazons, your supermarkets. These are the same companies that made loads of money during the pandemic. They made...
Quickly, yeah. I know that a lot of the jobs that were given by universal credit when everything was happening, instead of like the £20, people were getting jobs at Track and Trace. So that's another thing.
There you go. And like, these are big companies that have made money during the pandemic, and then they're going to get a huge cash incentive. Okay, brilliant. It reminds me of like when they actually created the minimum wage back in, was it the 90s or the early 2000s? And they were like, oh, how are we going to help the companies pay the minimum wage? It's like, I don't know, their profits. No, they started to give people what was the working tax credits, child tax benefits. They started to give people those to help those companies. It was like money for the companies, money for the people. But whenever they give people money, they have to give the companies more. And it's not fair. The companies don't need more money. That's why they have profits. If they ain't making a profit, maybe they should downscale their operations and stop spending so much money on these large advertising campaigns that annoy the hell out of everyone when you're trying to watch YouTube or the TV. Anyway, back to the point. Apprenticeships. They're going to create apprenticeships. Apprenticeships, they start at a minimum of £4.30. You find me 10 apprenticeship jobs in the UK right now that pay more than £9 an hour minimum, right? You find it for me. Also, apprenticeships aren't full-time majority of the time, right? You find me 10 apprenticeship jobs right now that are full-time paying above £9 minimum. It's not real. This doesn't make sense to me. And he's talking about how this is through the Kickstart scheme, which will find people really well-paid jobs. It doesn't add up, Rishi. It doesn't add up. It's not fair. It's not okay. And the media need to do something about it when they're talking to guys like this. If I could get Rishi on this show right now, I would tell man Wagwan and let him know, bruv, you're a dickhead, man, because you're just taking money off of poor people, giving it to your brethren out in the Cayman Islands and doing nothing for the people of this country. Anyone who votes for this, Donny, in the next election needs to dust out with yourself. Head to Afghanistan and hang out with the Taliban, my Don. You get me? Like, wait, I got a sore throat out here and I just went ham on the mother. All right,
listen,
on to the next one.
Rishi would be intimidated because he sounds like a pussy-o as well.
Trust me, blood. He's that guy in school who tried to be brethren with everyone. He brought extra lunch just so that he could give it to people so they won't jocks him up. You get me? Like,
he definitely paid for his friends. That's what he's doing right now. So,
there you go, innit? Come on, it is where it is. Listen, I've got a banging article next, right? Listen, so this one, I loved it. I read this. I've read this a few times, to be fair, because I was like, this is banging. I've just shared it on my Twitter page, think_become. So go check it out. But this is by the one and only Klaudia Fior. Yeah, don't know. It is the UK's love-hate relationship with knife crime. Obviously, I got the author of the article on the show right here to talk a little bit about it in a moment. But I've got to say, do you know what, right? This is so poignant, and I don't use that word a lot, right? I googled it to make sure I was using it right, but but like honestly, like right, knife crime in the UK. What you've done here, Klaudia, and I love it, is that you've spoken about who the real victims of knife crime are, and it's not just obviously it is the people who get joked in it, yeah, but also it's the people who feel pressured, feel the need to have to go out with the knives, who have lost all their services, youth services. I remember when I was younger, yeah, I go to my mate's house and his mum would say, oh, do you want to go to youth club? My mate would come around mine. My mum would say, oh, we're taking you to the youth club. When my dad was a kid, yeah, he talks about all the different youth clubs and stuff. Where in the area where I live now, people are fighting. They're fighting to keep the youth clubs open. Luckily, we've got some good politicians who have put money into the youth clubs here, but there's not enough. We've got good people who work in the local authorities that have pushed the local authorities to do more for young people. Again, they're not able to do enough because the funding has been pulled by the government. And the answer to knife crime isn't fighting knife crime with police. It isn't by stopping criminalizing more young people, right? The answer is, and as you say here, it's about actually looking at the estimated 70% cut to funding for youth services. That's the problem. That's what's causing a lot of the problems. Yes, we need to take knives off the streets, but if you take the knives off the streets, what else are the young people going to do? And I'm not saying they're turning to the knives, because all I'm saying is, like, there's still going to be the social issues, the societal issues that occur, that create gang crime, even as mentioned in the article, kids who aren't even in gangs feeling for their safety that they need to carry a knife. And something I've not spoken about publicly before is it got to a point before I moved out of London where I was considering carrying a knife or something on myself. I never went around with a crew. I didn't have a crew of people. I had different friends. I traveled all around London. But because so much had happened to me, I got beat on the Central Line. I got jumped on the 294 going through Clayhall. You know, like, because I'm just on my own, I'm a young kid, these things happen to me. I'm like, what can I do to protect myself? If man comes to me, what can I do? Yeah, like as a 16, 17-year-old, I wasn't a big guy. I was just a guy. Do you know what I mean? And that's the point where we're at, is that it's a madness. It's a revolving circle. And I think it's fantastic that you've done this article. I'm going to share it in the comments as well. So anyone who's watching, you can check out the article there. But yeah, Klaudia, have you got anything to add on your article there? I think it's fantastic.
I don't really know what else to say other than the fact that yeah, I just feel like do you know what, I've got quite a bit of a personal experience with knife crime. I've lost a few friends to knife crime. I've been robbed at knife point before for my phone. And literally every like of the area where I live, literally I think like it was 2 weeks ago. We have like this like a local blog that people post about things that have happened in the area. And I remember I went to Tesco downstairs, and the whole area was just locked off, and I was just like, what's going on? Went on the blog, found out that like a young boy, like somewhere around the age of 16, had been gutted with a machete by a man in his 20s. And then I was just there, like, I was just like, surely this isn't just gang stuff at this point, because I've known gang members, and gang members have the respect to know that a 20-something-year-old man should not be attacking a 15-year-old child. There's a certain rank to things that you do. At this point, it's just a matter of the both generations, people in their 20s and below, have just been so neglected by the government. Youth services have been getting cut for the last decade, and it's not just youth centers, it's things like public libraries. So even if a child wanted to go and better their education and go to a public libraries are being closed and getting knocked down to build fucking apartments for rich people. Like any type of thing that young people can dwell in or like seek out as an activity to do on a day-to-day basis in working class areas are just being eradicated completely. Like even in Elephant and Castle, you had the Elephant and Castle shopping centre. Wasn't much, but it was an area for people to go into, walk around shops, get food for cheap, just chill with their friends and not actually be out on the streets where they're potentially under threat of being stabbed or having to stab someone for their own safety. And that was a treasure of London. It got knocked down for what? More apartment blocks. And I just think the UK government does a very good job of being like, right, oh yeah, we're tackling knife crime, we're going to put police on the street. It's all because we've got these degenerates out on our streets. We've got people who have no respect, blah, blah, blah. It's not. These people that you, and what they try to blame it on is like, obviously you've got a massive rise of like drill and grime music in the UK, which is quite violent, but you can't be mad at them. That's their truth. Every single music artist spits their truth. They talk about what's happened to them. If a drill artist is constantly talking about knife crime and having to stab someone and having lost a friend because they got stabbed in the heart, that's because they're trying to send you a message. They're trying to tell you what's happening. Do you know what I mean? Everyone, things where people blatantly put things out in the open like that, it's a cry for help. Whatever kind of cry, in whatever way they want to do it, it's a cry for help. And you can't, the UK government likes to shift the blame and be like, oh yeah, it's because we've got violence on the rise in the media, this, that, and the other. No, it's because you're neglecting young people in the working class community because you're so determined to just help prosper the elite or the middle class. Do you know what I mean? Even public schools being changed to academies or being just shut down and more private schools being open. Like, what the fuck?
Do you know what? This I wouldn't normally plug someone who doesn't need plugging in this way, but I think when I read your article, and I've just reminded when you was talking then, like Dave's new album, We're All Alone in This Together. Like I wanted to just do my own review on that album because it's so lit, right? But I think it picks up on a few of the things you're talking about in the article and what you're saying here. It's so real, man. Like the government aren't fixing the problem. They're creating more problems out of what they're doing. And we definitely need to see a change in tactics. One of the other things I think adding on to it is, the war on drugs. Who's the war on? The war is on young black men, basically. There is no war on drugs. You go to some of the nice communities where it is a large majority of the young people are white men, the young people are white. You don't see a war on drugs, but I can guarantee you there's a good supply of drugs in those areas. Now, I could spend all night talking about this issue. There's a lot been going on. Claudia, you've got some stories for us. So next up, what's first on your list?
So my first story is on the topic of Afghanistan. We have got our good friends at the Canary. As the Taliban take over Afghanistan, let's remember the US's role in their creation. Now, I've picked this story because, quite frankly, when I found out, when the news about the Taliban rapidly taking over Afghanistan came out, and when I realized how quickly they were able to do it, I was just confused and angry as to what the fuck was the United States government doing in in Afghanistan for the last 20 years? You interfered to help a country, and then you ended up leaving, having made peace with your enemy who you actually created in the first place, and now you've left Afghanistan in a worse place than it actually began. And it's just The United States government, alongside other Western nations, including the UK, have literally thrown billions of dollars and pounds, whatever, into the mud, wasted civilian lives and military lives for what? For nothing, to leave and just allow the enemy to win. Yeah, cool. The United States government had a ceasefire with the Taliban last year, but the Afghan government didn't. So the moment the United States government left, it was just like, oh, okay, well, we can do what we want to do because we're not going against anything we've agreed. Yeah, and I'm just pissed off because, like, what the fuck? And then also, like, can we talk about the fact, right? When all of this happened, obviously, about 10 years ago, I was quite young. I was 13 at the time. So a lot of this stuff I've had to learn and educate myself about over the years. One thing that's pissed me off, though, that was just very open is, listen, Tony Blair gets asked his opinion on every single topic, even the shit that does not concern him whatsoever. But now this has come out. Why have none of the mainstream media been like, Blair? So
where's he at? What's
going on? What do you have to say?
Voicemail. He's not there. Try email him, innit? Get man on emails. You get me? Real talk, man. Also, Bush, Bush, Blair, the pair of them, they have a lot to answer for in regards to their tactics. We played the video at the beginning, Bush saying, this is the end of the Taliban, or we're seeing the end.
Video aged terribly. That video aged absolutely terribly. Like,
trust me,
I hope someone plays that, like when his life ever flashes before his eyes, I hope that video plays for him, like, on repeat, or like that's his loop in hell. I hope that's his loop in hell.
Do you know what? I think he laughs when this stuff comes about, though. Like, I was watching Blair talk about tuition fees for university, right? Yeah. And they do this. These liberals and right wingers, they do this brilliant thing where they go, I understand it's a popular policy, but what you have to understand, and that's the thing, what you have to understand, and it's like, sorry, do you know what I mean? Or but in reality, and it's like, what reality are you living in with your billions of pounds, where you can just drop bombs on hospitals and children and kill children and sleep at night? That's the thing, innit? You can sleep at night after killing millions of people, but you're saying we ain't in reality. And I know obviously that was tuition fees, but that's what these liberals do, innit? They act like you're in a la-la land, you're living, when actually they are in the la-la land because they feed off a capital and they believe in this dream world where, the rich continue to get richer and the poor do not question anything. And that's what they want. So 100% agree. What's next in the news, though? Because again, with this one, we could go all night on it.
Yeah, no, we'd be here for fucking 10 years, mate. It would just...
Trust me.
But next up, we have got new international. Whoa! Had a little mare there. New internationalist with Colombia Iron Fist. So I'm just going to start this off by reading a paragraph that I've taken out of the story, just because I feel like it's really important for everyone to hear. So it says, the Mobile Anti-Disturbance Squadron, ESMAD for short, ESMAD for short, Colombia's highly militarized riot police force, reportedly used tactics such as torture, sexual abuse, and disappearances to intimidate protesters. Observers found evidence of police firing live bullet rounds into crowds. According to Amnesty International, at least 400 people have disappeared from the city of Cali, one of the protest movement's strongholds. I read that and I was just like, what the fuck? Basically, there was protests about tax in Colombia, and their anti-disturbance squadron, which is basically like their military police, this is how they reacted. And I think they killed a total, like, over 60 protesters, and only tried to own up for like 20 or something like that. But then obviously people tried to like figure out what happened and found that actually more than 60 people died. And I think it just, I didn't realize, like, I knew there was a protest in Colombia, but when I read this, I was just like, I didn't realize how severe the situation was. And I just felt like it was something that people should be aware of. The article points out that in Colombia, the wealthiest 20% of the population hold 56% of national income. And it also points out that last year in 2020, Colombia's military expenditure was $101 billion, which is the highest in the whole of the continent. And I think that just goes to show how fond they are of like military powers and like police powers. Do you know what I mean? It does say that Ivan Duque, I don't even know if I'm saying his name right, promised to reform police after obviously the 60 protesters were killed, but he just said police, which is not the militarized police that actually caused all of this. So there's like a lot of criticism about everything happening. But I think something that you actually mentioned earlier, about how the UK responds depending on what country asylum seekers or whoever are coming from. For example, what happened in Hong Kong with China. So the article also points out that when the Hong Kong protests were happening, the UK was very, very quick to sanction China, being like, oh, this is an abuse of human rights, blah, blah, blah. But when it comes to, so the UK actually has previously trained Colombian military officers, and it has some kind of economic deal with Colombia. So the article said that when it comes to criticizing or sanctioning nations that they've got some kind of economic involvement with that benefits them, the UK just stays silent and turns a blind eye, even though I'm pretty sure all of the stuff that I read at the beginning happening in Colombia was not like, things in Hong Kong were bad, but there was not 400 people missing, just not knowing where people were. You know what I mean? People were getting abused and like tortured, but I don't think it was this. But I'm not going to say it wasn't because I wasn't there, but this sounds fucked.
Yeah, it's mad what's been going on out there. Big up the New Internationalist. We had Amy on here from the New Internationalist a little while ago. Carol Conchabel doing this article. It's important that these things get said. I think Laura said in the comments, she hadn't heard anything about this before now. These are the kind of stories that need to get out there. So just using the opportunity to remind you guys, when you see independent media, go on their website, sign up to their newsletter, sign up, give them some money if you can. Also, we cover everything that we can from all of our partners and also news going on around the world on bywire.news. So make sure you hit it up. New Internationalists have been great at covering everything that's going on in Latin America, but also obviously more importantly on this story in Colombia. So there's a lot more to it. There's more articles. They've covered it very, very well. Claudia, what's next on the list?
So lastly, we've got another one from the Canary. They've been absolutely fantastic this week. So we've got the Canary with Labour's expulsion of Ken Loach has been decades in the making. Now, I've kind of picked this story more for discussion purposes. I've kind of got do you think that the expulsion of Ken Loach kind of means that the left wing of the Labour Party is just completely being eradicated?
You asking me? Yeah,
I'm asking you. I mean, people in the comments can respond, but they're obviously going to respond a bit slower than you. So I need you to.
Yeah. Go on. Yeah, calm. All right. Basically, the way I see this, is that it's a part of the process, right? They've got to get rid of people like who aren't well known, and then wait for the more well known people to pick up on this, to start seeing what's going on, and then start talking about it. Now, I can see two sides of the coin in a way on this story, because on one side, if there is a disciplinary case in any organization, no one should talk about the disciplinary case while it is ongoing. And that's fair. I think that is absolutely fair. However, the Labour Party, when they do these disciplinary cases or these investigations into what could be disciplinary cases against members, the rules are very vague. The information they provide to the members that are undergoing the investigation, the letter that goes out to them is very vague, and there's no time scale. The time, all the members I've spoken to or I met or I know that have gone through disciplinary procedures or investigations, they've not had a time scale. They're like, oh, we'll be in contact with you within a few months or something like that. And the Labour Party know exactly what they're doing. And I think one of the things that a lot of people have to remember within the Labour Party is that you can say the left in the Labour Party, but then also there is the machine that runs the Labour Party, which is the people who work for the Labour Party and so forth. Now, when Jeremy Corbyn became leader, not only was he dealing with the right-wing MPs, the right-wing elected officials across the country, and also the right-wing members, or if you want to, liberal, centre ground, whatever, right? those members and people, he was also dealing with a whole staff structure where a lot of people didn't like him. And we saw this in the Labour leaks. We've seen this in the conversations that have been had and the books that have been written by former staff who worked for Jeremy Corbyn. Big up Jeremy Corbyn. He was on the show last Monday. So if you want to see that interview, don't know. But on this point, right? So you've got to deal with this whole structure. Now, Jeremy Corbyn inherited everything from the previous leadership and the leadership before that, because Ed's time was short-lived and not very well known. But what happens in that process is that Jeremy started to change things. He employed staff that were supportive of his leadership. He started to change processes, and the members put through rules at conference to change the processes in the Labour Party that would be more equal, more fair. And they started to look at the disciplinary process, the complaints process. They employed more people internally, not externally, like Keir and his mate David Evans are doing. They employed people internally to deal with the complaints. Also, very highly skilled, well-trained, and highly educated on the matter people to deal with the more serious cases of racism, anti-Semitism, these kind of issues that are very, misogyny, very serious complaints or issues that had come up within the complaints department of the Labour Party. They had specialist people to deal with them. They were starting to deal with them. Now, he couldn't just employ them straight away. He couldn't just become leader and be like, boom. Because also in the first 2 years, he increased the money that the Labour Party had and then used that money to employ those people. And then in the next 2 years, starts employing people, getting them embedded, getting them working. And by that point, it was at the time where the right of the party had spent the last 3-4 years absolutely destroying him in every way possible, in every newspaper possible, on every TV station possible, to the point where we had the 2019 election. So in that time, all the goods that Jeremy and his team and the people around him and the people he employed tried to make difference in the Labour Party all just got scrapped. And then obviously a lot of people who work for the Labour Party and were involved have left in that time since Keir became leader. And we have this situation where there isn't any support mechanisms for the left. And it is a similar repeat to what we've seen previously, or what many people have seen previously when there have been very left-leaning leaders of the Labour Party. But we're at a point now where Keir doesn't give a fuck, man. He's just dashing everyone. But the one message I have is, if you believe in the Labour Party as a route to socialism in Parliament, electoral socialism, then stay in the Labour Party. If you want the Labour Party to be a left-wing party, then become a member and keep your head down and keep fighting. If you get kicked out, you'll have people that will give you solidarity and that will support you. But most importantly, if you want that, last weekend is a perfect example. There were 2 elections that happened. I'm trying to remember what the second one was, but the first one was, there was the election of the Conference Arrangement Committee where the left won. Narrow margin, but the left won. And that's what you need to do. You need to keep electing left-wing people within the Labour Party. If you keep electing those people, then you'll find that the party has become a left-wing party. And there's the problem that Jeremy had, is that when he got elected, there weren't elected left people. Now we do have them. We have the likes of Jamie Driscoll up in north of Tyne. You've got so many MPs that, you've got from Richard Bergen to obviously there's John and Jeremy, but the Socialist Campaign Group across the country, there are socialist councillors that have been elected all across the UK. And these are people that will help support a new left leader if you want to keep the left alive in the Labour Party. Sorry to have gone on a rant on your story there, Klaudia, but you asked me the question, and it's a perfect opportunity.
That's exactly what I wanted you to do. I feel like you always make me go on rants, so I wanted to flip the script on you there.
Nice. I like it. But yeah, so if you want socialism in the Labour Party, stay in. If you're a socialist, stay in, don't leave, and keep electing lefties, keep electing socialists, and don't let them trick you like some people have done, Keir. What are you saying though? What do you think?
Do you know what? We spoke about this the other night when I was on Socialist Think Tank. Everyone should check that out. And we kind of mentioned that, like, the hope is that, like, obviously if you do want the Labour Party to prosper, you just got to believe in it and hope that, like, this might actually be a blessing in disguise, and so many people are going to become so frustrated by the situation that they're just going to force Keir to resign. Do you know what I mean? Just absolutely backlash him and just be like, yeah, fuck this guy, what the fuck are you doing? Because what I think is crazy is the fact that the reason they said that they like kicked him out is because he no longer fit the values of the Labour Party. How the fuck does Ken Loach not fit the values of the Labour Party? Like, do you know who the man is? Are you familiar with his work? Do you know what I mean? Like, are you sure you've got the definition of what the Labour Party is supposed to be, and you're certain you're talking about the right person? Because it's ridiculous. It's kind of like, it's a very strong like reinforcement that the Labour Party is actually moving away from what it's supposed to be. Not the whole of the Labour Party, but the Labour leadership is moving away from what it's supposed to be. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, we were saying on that we just hope that this is like one of those situations where they hit rock bottom and just have to, the only way is up from there. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Well, the party is financially, not doing well either. Thanks, Mark. It was the Young Labour Equalities Committee, which was the other election where the left won. And Mark and Laura have both said in the comments, it's like they're doing this so that people jump ship, which is why I said don't jump ship, stay in, fight. Even if you're not up for the fight, it's been a long 5 years, 6 years for socialists, especially those involved in the Labour Party. Keep your head down, just make sure you get your votes in, and all of that kind of stuff. It's important that we do those things. So yeah, that's my view on that one. We've gone a little bit over tonight, but I've had a lot of fun. Klaudia, I love when you're here on a Monday. You bring the vibes, you bring the good times, and you definitely are a stable part of the show. So I'm looking forward to next Monday.
I was like, what am I?
Staple.
I was like, I'm definitely Googling this reference when I get on.
Man's not even lean and I'm already messing up my words, It's the after show CBD vibe. Come on, listen, Klaudia, let the people know what they got to do, where they got to go, and what it is.
Do you know what? We need to make a rap for this or something so we can just get into it. Right. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Bywire News, and follow us on Instagram at Bywire_news. You can catch Dan every Monday to Friday at 9 p.m. and you can catch me with him at Monday to Thursday at 9 p.m. and you can catch me with him every Monday.
And man was meant to have the outro ready, but I was dancing in it. So peace, people.